Alright, now that the ink caps are at a pretty good stopping point for now, pretty much just needs just a ton of white. I'm going to move on to the darkness underneath the chin and neck area. I'm going to bump up the contrast here too, just so the face itself will pop out. And notice that I'm not using black. I'm going to start with some like dark blues, and then as it goes up and around, it's going to go into a green where the light is hitting it. And also, I don't know if you've noticed my needle movements so far, but for the majority of it, I'm more wispy back and forth, not so much little circles. Except right here, I'm just kind of moving my machine real slow because I got some little hairs there that I'm gonna detail out later with some white and maybe some green and blue shines on it. But you'll see when I get into the face and at the top of the hat, where I'm just gonna pack in some colors, and yeah, you'll see that it's not those little circle movements that we were all taught. It's more the large back and forth movements, just being really flowy and wispy with it. And what that does is it doesn't damage the skin as much. You're able to layer more and more, because if you're sitting there and you're just packing in that machine and going really slow, doing little circles, it's doing more damage. You can't go over it as many times. If you're wisping it fairly quickly and just barely brazing the skin, you could layer it up to 5-6 times. Actually, with the Numa 2, you could layer it up to like 10 times if you really want to. But with the new hybrid, maybe like 5 times. But also, just with experience with your own needle technique, you'll know if you're damaging the skin too much and whatnot. But just keep that machine moving. That's pretty important. And you'll see here, I'm just continuing with that blue, keeping that contrast real high. Once I'm done with that blue, I'll fade that blue just right into the green. And then onto the ear. Usually most ears, I'll just use my 17 mag. I use that 17 mag for pretty much everything. I don't think I've lined anything yet. And I'll usually get out my liner when I get to the mouth, nose, and eyes area, just because I want those to be a little bit sharper and to stand out a little bit more. When I get up to the ear, I'll just kind of map it in using my mag, and then every so often I'll go back to it and hit a color here and there, darken a little spot, lighten a little spot, until it just looks right. After I do the ear, I'm just going to jump up on that hat. Instead of doing a full-blown hat, I'm going to just wisp it out into some flow. I think it'll just look better on his leg instead of just one big black hat. And once I get done with all this, we'll move on to the face.